Start. Okay. So, let's get started. Let's get started. We're going to do... We will do Brute for right now. And then, let's see. Timer. Watch. Cool. Anyways. It's 11:52 right now. So, we're gonna go ahead and review this. Radiation, melee, energy. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do energy, melee. We're gonna do dark armor. That's what we're gonna do. Okay. So, firstly, do I always need to take epic powers? If not, why? So, my first answer to that right now is you need to look at what you're using. So if you're using something like energy melee, doesn't have anything epic other than disorient. Using dark armor, doesn't really have anything that's going to really help you there against your opponent. So what I'm typically looking for whenever I'm looking into the epic masteries is, one, I'm looking for something that does a lot of damage short period of time. Okay, so one of my first go-tos is Fossilize. Here's the minus, is that Fossilize requires you to have one extra power that you're not going to want to have to select. Okay, so next I would probably, for melees, you gotta remember, if you're a scrapper, you're gonna get completely different options. For scrappers, I typically like the patron masters more, but for this case and scenario, I'm not liking any of my options. These are Soul Master is probably the only patron option I like. The others, they just don't do anything. Leviathan on brutes and tanks, it's just not good. It doesn't have a damage output. It doesn't have any minuses over here. Knockback, you're not gonna really knock anyone back in PvP. Immobilize, you're not gonna really immobilize anyone. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is the only one, Arctic Breath, but again, it doesn't do that much damage. I mean, we can even throw it out there, throw it under the bus. We'll slot it all the way. Put this and see what the max is. Now, don't get me wrong, that's better than what Fire has, which is, you know, it's minus resistance and minus defense power. But again, it's not going to do you a lot of good. You'd be better off spamming something like Char or you know, Block of Ice. Minus 11% for 10 seconds just doesn't do it for me. 16 seconds doesn't do it for me, and you know, that's basically 3 seconds. That's just not going to do it for me either. So, and then 19 endurance. So it's not going to do it. So, the majority of what you're going to be looking for when you're trying to pick these powers, holds are really nice. Because you can garbage build them with more proc holds, and you know, you can hold your opponent for a longer period of time. But ultimately, it's going to come down to some builds like Dark Melee and Invulnerability. Earthmaster is not going to be a thing because, you know, well, you're going to try to select, you know, Stone Prison, and then you're going to try to select Fossilize, and you just can't afford to take 2 slots. Okay, so something like Arctic Master, where you can get the same amount of damage out of it, a little bit lower animation time, and you know it's not going to do minus defense, but it will do something for you. It will give you some pretty great damage and everything. It's going to slow the recharge or minus whatever, you know, debuff resistance they have. So I don't think too highly of Energy Master. I don't really have anything I can say about. It's a very basic idea. You're going to typically take focused accuracy and physical perfection, nothing else. Laser Eyes is even worse than anything else you could ever pick. It's just not there. Doesn't have it. Last thing I'll mention on it is it's all about proccing. If you can proc it out and it does a lot of damage with the procs and, you know, with its own base damage, just one more reason to take it. But enough of that. So let's see, how do you choose where to place archetype sets? Purple, what's better and what's not? Okay, so we're going to skip down here and we're going to select powers, trying to figure out what we want to use. We're going to start from square one here. Since we're just building for PvP, we're just going to do just that. Build for PvP. So one of the things I'm going to mention is you're trying to figure out what powers you can spam relatively quick and get the most damage out of. Obvious choice looks like Barrage and Energy Punch, but frankly you can do even better with Bone Smasher. You can actually get that recharge down pretty good, and your it also comes down to your base recharge, what you can manage. More times than not, if you can get 5 Luck of a Gambler's global recharge in your build, that 8 seconds really isn't going to mean too much to you. Okay, so what we're going to look at next is we're going to take a look here. Okay, what is your heal? That recharge can be dumbed down to about maybe like 10 seconds for Dark Regeneration. Now the only price Dark Regeneration is you have to account for you might miss, in which you're just going to want to cry at that moment. So we're going to take a look here. Personally, Hasten's always a must. Just me personally. I'm always a fan of it. Helps with any build, doesn't matter what build it is. And we're going to go down to pull powers. Let's see. Just trying to figure out what we want. We're going to take boxing and tough. I believe that was another question on here. Do all power sets need tough? Yes, they do. Because something in PvP that I'm not sure if you're aware of, tough actually gets resistance to everything in PvP. Whereas in PvP, it does not. So just bear that in mind. So you'll have 11.25% to everything. I think that goes up to 15%, but so yes, tough is definitely a must. Even in range builds, it's just helpful all around. Smashing and lethal damage are more common than you may suspect. Most powers have smashing. As you look right here, Total Focus has smashing damage. So even that's not all energy. Okay, if I pull up another mids, we can go to something else. You know, Dark Melee, for example, here. Right there. Smashing, negative damage. Okay, So, you know, it's in more places than you think. So that's why people max out that kind of damage. Again, smashing damage right there. Like I said, more of the times than not, everything has smashing and lethal next to it. So just bear that in mind. That is why you take tough, because it does dwindle that down a bit. It does help you. So moving forward. So once you've picked your spammable powers and you finally have these ones starting to open up, now you gotta make your second decision. What is worthwhile taking and what is not, as far as what's gonna like inflict all of your damage. So for me, I think Total Focus does enough damage that I don't mind spamming it. And I think energy transfer to me is a must. I feel like those do a decent job at their damage output. So as far as choosing your powers here, if you're crazy about experimentation, doing the adrenal booster, I'm not. I'm not too crazy about it. I think it just takes up too many power slots. I just can't reason it, and that's my only reason for not taking it. I would rather take leadership, get maneuvers, tactics, and, you know, improve accuracy, improve resistance to simple effects. If you don't know, you know, you're getting resistance to confuse and fear, just annoying little stuff that you could run into. If you take assault, taunt, placate, you know, you obviously don't take assault for damage because it's really not giving you damage that you're not really gonna notice it. So we'll go about that. Now personally, I'm gonna tell you, stack up on as many defensive powers as you possibly can, but don't be silly about it. You know, for example, Cloak of Darkness it will not stack with stealth. So when you take one or the other, really think about that. Then I would take maneuvers, because once again, I'm not too crazy about any of the other ones. The only times I've used Force of Will and all these other ones is when I made a Brood or a tank in PvE, predominantly. So we'll take a look at Presence, because that's another one. People don't think about it too much, but this does give damage, recharge. We had something before, you know, experimentation came. People don't even remember it. They don't even acknowledge it, which is just makes it funny. But when you're choosing your pull powers, that's all it is, you know. Do you really think choosing 3 over choosing something like leadership and choosing 2 is really worth it? It's min-maxing on your pull sets. It's just what can you afford to work on and what you can't afford to work on. Tactics for me right now just feels like a must because of Dark Regeneration. I need to be able to hit my foe with Dark Regeneration. If I can't hit my foe with it, I'm going to be hating life when I'm low on health. So then we take a look at Concealment. And again, like I said, okay, we have 1, we have 2, 3, 4, and then, so we have 4, then 5. Now, I'm going to note something. On more endurance heavy power sets, you probably don't want to take all of, you know, tough, well, not tough, but weave. You probably don't want to take weave, because some sets just can't handle the output, which would force you to go into cardiac or vigor or, you know, ageless. Just a thought. An alternative to weave would be to look at vengeance. You know, just plopping a Luck of a Gambler in there instead. It's also a matter of slots. You know, do you have enough slots to even slot weave? Yeah, you can leave some things at one slot and, you know, just try it out, but just remember, you need to make sure your endurance isn't looking like crap when you have all of this turned on with IOs, with anything. Like right now, if I turn all of this on, I'm in the drain right now. So just bear that in mind. But personally, I'm going to tell you, with some power sets, you're just going to want to have all the defense that you can get when you enhance these. So, moving on to whether we need epics. We clearly can afford them. Clear as day. So, how do you go about it? Well, since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to take Vengeance. The reason we're going to take Vengeance is because I don't want to waste this slot right here on Luck of a Gambler Global. So I'm trying to give myself a little discount here, so I can just put 4 in, and none of these are being wasted on Luck of a Gambler. I can just put my Luck of a Gambler over here. It's just minimizing, you know, what the cost is, and that's maximizing my result. That's all it is. So, I am Energy Mastery. Do I feel like I'm gonna have a hard time hitting my opponent? Mom, yes. So, would I do Energy Mastery or would I do Earth? I'm gonna say to you every time, if you can reduce your opponent's defense, it's going to be better than trying to improve your accuracy. I've tried this accuracy run, and personally, I've found no luck with it. You can't get your accuracy high enough, because you got to remember, when you're going about this, it is accuracy, then you subtract defense away from it, and that's your chance of hitting someone. So take, you know, a number like, if they have 50% defense to smashing, you know, that's obviously not going to leave you a good number if your accuracy is at 60%. Okay? You should hit them every time at that point. But, you also have to remember, procs are going to slide in there. They're going to increase their defense over that. You have things like barrier, you have, you know, defense increase buffs like Divine Avalanche, you know, so forth. You gotta remember all these inside factors. So personally, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take Stone Prison, I'm gonna take Fossilize, and from here, this is the big problem, because now we're running into, we have 2 freebies. So, now you gotta kind of figure out what you can turn those freebies into. If you're having a hard time figuring those out, just remember, hover back over your principles. Do you have 5 defense powers that you can slot Luck of a Gambler's on? Next thing to look at, did you take everything you could take? Okay. Dark Armor. You have everything you could take in here. I don't like placing things that can turn off with a stun. I don't like it. I never did. Never will. So, maybe I take something like Assault, and I'll see if I can work it later, you know, see if I can make something happen with it. See if I can capitalize on it. And I think the only thing left I would take is maybe Quicksand, and see if I can get this to continuously work its magic. 8, 10. So, we will take a look here. Okay. And I think we're going to move on to the next video here. 18, 20, yeah. we're gonna move on to the next video. If I can find it.